like in Sanskrit we say Ishwar is Vishwuttirn, it is beyond, transcendent, and also Vishwamaya, he is imminent also.
Exactly, right? That is why spiritual pursuit or the pursuit of Brahman and the pursuit of Ishvara is possible within the worldly setup. You don't have to give up the world. You don't have to, reject being a part of this world to, find God and to reach God. So this beautiful immanence and transcendence relationship, it was put forth in beautifully, very beautifully by first Swami Vivekananda for the Western audience. See, this has always been a part of our culture, but Swami Vivekananda during his tour of the US and Western worlds, he put forth in the English language these very important insights. What Swami Vivekananda put forth, Sri Aurobindo built upon that. And this has been a core tenet of Indian.
In all the traditions. In fact, we have this concept of Jivan Mukti, living liberation or embodied liberation, which means that you are liberated while you are in this physical body. So even the Advaita Vedanta tradition, which has been, I think, more accused of these kind of things, even they have this concept of Jivan Mukti, and they say that you can be liberated while embodied. And then the Jivan Mukt, or a living liberated person, has the duty to give that jnana, the knowledge, to those people who don't have it. So it's not world negating at all.
Exactly. So now imagine, firstly you have taken this core principle and put it into a system which does not have this, which was fundamentally the Judeo-Christian framework. The Abrahamic framework believes in God being outside creation, right? So now you have taken this concept and you've tried to take the insights from it and pass it off as your own. Secondly, what has happened is you, as you rightly mentioned, certain interpretations of Advaita Vedanta are taken, critiqued, analyzed through a wrong lens, and because some of that may be otherworldly, you say everything in Indian philosophy is otherworldly. This is a huge mischaracterization. We are the land of the Gita. We are the land of, where Bhagavan himself is urging action on the battlefield.
Correct.
So it is a very huge mischaracterization in putting it as, otherworldly and
renunciation is always inner, it's not outer. Inner renunciation is important.
That inner renunciation is what Sri Aurobindo puts forth. He says there needs to be, when you're pursuing the transcendent, you're not renouncing externally just the world. That's not what it means. What is meaning is there is an inner renunciation of the ego driving this whole process, and instead you surrender more and more for the divine grace to take over your yoga. Right? So that inner renunciation is what Sri Aurobindo and before him even Swami Vivekananda were talking about. They interpret it, that way. So this whole key concept has been taken by Wilber, appropriated. And then gone ahead, typical U-turner, he has mischaracterized Indian philosophy as otherworldly. And I will show even further in his next phases what he means by putting India as otherworldly. And instead what he does, he takes these important concepts to solve an actual Western problem. In fact, the West has been dealing from the times of the Greeks. They have been struggling with this dichotomy between matter and spirit, right? West is riddled with dichotomies. They have issues with science and religion or science and God. One of the other dichotomies is matter and spirit. They see an opposition between matter and spirit. This is not our opposition to begin with. It's not our problem. It's a purely Western problem. Now, there have been debates long-standing in Western lineages who have tried to address this issue and move on. So now Wilber positions himself to be the latest in the Western lineage by taking insights from the Vedic framework, from Sri Aurobindo's material, to solve certain Western problems. But he doesn't attribute it to Sri Aurobindo. This is a huge thing. Imagine you're taking the solution from a different framework, accusing the person of having a problem which is actually yours to begin with, which is a huge, huge thing. And we flagged this entirely, right? So this issue, this otherworldly characterization of Sri Aurobindo and the larger Vedic framework.
Wilber has also appropriated this theory of involution and evolution.
Correct.
So can you explain how he has appropriated it and also distorted it? And he also says that this is something he came up with. This was not a part of the Indian tradition, but I think this has been a part of the Indian knowledge ever since the time of the Upanishads.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So can you please throw some light on this?
So the 18th and 19th centuries, right, have been interesting for the Western discourse because of the debates surrounding evolution, right? I mean, today we take it for granted that West has been championing so many important material discoveries and scientific discoveries, but they actually believed in flat earth models. I mean, evolution was a hard concept for them to actually wrap their minds around. They believe that the debates between creationism and evolution have been a part of their...
They also used to believe that sky will fall on their head. So this was like...
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So it was actually during these interesting periods of the debates that were going on that Swami Vivekananda put forth the Indian viewpoint, right? During his travels and his tours in the Western world, UK, US, everywhere, it was he who started putting out the Indian viewpoint that for something to evolve, the question is what evolves? What is it that is evolving? So, and that is where the Indian concept of involution is very, very key. So, in the Indian framework, involution and evolution are twin processes. Something is evolving because there is something already involuted into that. From the lowest forms of matter, and then what Sri Aurobindo calls life, and then even the mind, right? Which he calls as, based on the planes of consciousness in each of them. This evolution from matter to different forms of life to the mind as we know of today, right? We typically tend to think of the brain. There's the triune model of the brain, right? You think of the reptilian and you think of the mammalian as well as you think of the neocortex. So each of these are marked as certain evolutionary jumps in the way the brain has evolved, for instance. So but the fundamental question remains, what is evolving? So in the Indian, viewpoint, it is believed that because you have the Brahman, because you have the highest consciousness already involuted in matter, life and the mind, it is that which is evolving. And it evolves in multiple forms because there is multiplicity inherently present when the process of evolution is, when you have manifestation in all these planes. So this concept, what Swami Vivekananda, initially championed, was also further taken to the next steps by Sri Aurobindo as a part of his Purna Yoga, integral yoga, right? So he brought all these wonderful insights from Vedanta and, Upanishads, and then he used the modern language so successfully to lay out the path of what is involution, evolution for the individual, for the collective consciousness. All of this he brought together in his integral yoga. This has been taken in by Ken Wilber, including, the planes of consciousness, including certain particular aspects like, there is some differentiating lines, there's some differentiating planes, all of these individual, certain parts have been taken by Wilber and used. And that is when, in fact, it marks a jump, which even I think which the co-author Kundan Singh also, spoke about yesterday when we had the launch. The Wilber goes from being a typal Wilber to being an evolutionary Wilber. That is, he's taken the entire model of Sri Aurobindo's evolution and he goes ahead. The Wilber's appropriation of, this involution and evolution, I think is a huge, huge red flag. And this book addresses it in great detail. See, one of the important things we have done for the reader in this book, we have put out a lot of tables. Right? We have put out what is it from Wilber's work, what is the original from Sri Aurobindo's work. People can do a side-to-side comparison. and see how the whole theory has been evolved. And there is an interesting pattern to Wilber's scholarship. We highlight that as well over here in the book. When he initially puts something in one phase of his work, he doesn't acknowledge the source. Then in a few phases down the line, when any issues crop up, or when somebody points out any error, that there is this flawed understanding over here, or when he has to project himself as the expert in some other sub topic, then he will use Sri Aurobindo's name to prop himself up, that okay, Sri Aurobindo said this and this is thing. Then so initially in phase 2 he doesn't refer to Sri Aurobindo's work, when actually he needed to attribute it in a professional and scholarly manner. In phase 4, when somebody questions him, he uses Sri Aurobindo's name as the authority figure under which he says, yes, this man has said this is this. So this kind of a pattern detecting has taken, a huge, you have to read the whole material, track it down and put it out. And this is something that the Aurobindonian movement should have done back in 2000s itself for the Guru's work.